Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, the breaking news just as we come on the air tonight, the major anti-ICE protests unfolding in the country at this hour. Former CNN host Don Lemon arrested in court just moments ago. And actress Catherine O'Hara has died. Pages of documents released to President Trump now President slammed our lizard can track as to the North Lee Goldberg cast. Tonight, here the tributes for award-winning Catherine legends, so many iconic roles from Home Alone to Best in Show to Beetlejuice, then Schitt's Creek, and most recently, The Studio. We'll look back at her career, and we've learned about her sudden passing. And tonight here, her Home Alone co-star Macaulay Culkin with an emotional message. In New York City, will alleged CEO killer Luigi Mangione face the death penalty? What a judge has decided tonight. This evening, President Trump reveals his replace Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Tonight, the Republican senator standing in the way, and what he says must happen before this moves forward. In New York City, the horrific scene in an ER, the dramatic body camera video, the deadly police shooting a man armed with a sharp object. And tonight, just days before the Winter Olympics now, American skier Lindsey Vonn crashing, airlifted from the slopes. Her condition right here tonight. From ABC News, World Headlines New York. This is World News Tonight with Table.
We have so many disasters bombarding us right now, my dear. The middle name of an ungrateful child is hardly a priority.
What?
No matter how bad, I promise I will help.
The life and legacy of Canadian screen legend Catherine O'Hara. Also on this Friday night, Trump's latest tariff threat. Why the U.S. president is taking aim at Canada's aviation industry. The looming turbulence for the economy and air travelers. Plus, new details on an alleged terror plot involving Canadian Armed Forces members. How police say they plan to seize land and cottages in Quebec.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Legendary Canadian actor and comedian Catherine O'Hara has died. The 71-year-old passed away at her home in Los Angeles following a brief illness, according to her agency. O'Hara launched her extraordinary career at Second City in Toronto back in the 1970s, and she would become a beloved Emmy-winning Canadian icon with roles spanning genres and generations, from Kevin's mother in Home Alone to Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek. Heidi Petrarchik on O'Hara's life and legacy.
We're so glad to be here. We just
To call her the Canadian Queen of Comedy would be an understatement. The character of Lola Heatherton, just one of many created by Catherine O'Hara.
Everyone's in the mood for giving, and I'm just the girl to give it to.
Sketch comedy is where O'Hara cut her teeth, starting in her hometown at Second City in 1976. Then came the low-budget show that would become a cult classic, SCTV.
Bring her on, ladies and gentlemen, here's the Queen!
O'Hara's willingness for downright silliness endearing. It was with SCTV where she met peers who would become lifelong friends and colleagues like John Candy and Eugene Levy. Playing oddball Dahlia Dietz in the 1988 Hollywood horror comedy Beetlejuice put O'Hara on a prolific path in hits like Home Alone. Kevin!
When I got out of SCTV, I just was so intent on doing something really different that I'd never done before.
Yeah,
pushed him way off his game.
Came up behind. Yeah.
And later, Christopher Guest's wacky mockumentary, Best in Show, which partnered her again with Eugene Levy, their comedic friendship enduring. Their next project introducing them to new audiences on the hit Canadian TV show Schitt's Creek.
I miss having a chauffeur. I always felt safe with Armando behind the wheel.
Schitt's Creek would bring O'Hara more acclaim and awards, including her first acting Emmy and a Golden Globe. She also had dramatic acting chops, shown most recently as therapist Gail on The Last of Us.
You shot and killed my husband. You killed Eugene.
She teamed up with a fellow Canadian, Seth Rogen, for yet another hit television series, The Studio.
I like Seth. I really like Seth, so that helps. And we're Canadian.
Even though she long lived in Los Angeles, she remained fiercely and unabashedly Canadian and abhorrent of U.S. President Donald Trump's 50.
Story in 5 words.
Clean your room or FAFO. Tom, TikTok moms are trying out something called FAFO parenting. It's a new trend. For example, one mom smashed her little brat's iPad because she was whining. That doesn't sound like sane behavior, but remember we were talking about how they're internet dads? Maybe we're seeing internet moms.
Yeah, well, the just throwing big wheels onto the highway. No, that's and I wrote Mean Dads for a Better America. No, and then when it came out, people like GQ were reviewing. They're like, apparently Tom Shalhoub's really into abuse. It's not abuse. It's the way parenting used to be done. And the examples in here were parents saying, "Oh, the kid doesn't have to go outside with a coat on."
Yeah.
And it's like, we did that anyway. That was normal parenting. And so it's not, we're not crazy. We want the kids to have a skinned knee or, a burned finger on the stove. Like, that's the kind of lesson we want to. We don't go to the playground and be like, hey, go see that guy in the raincoat? Go ask him for his phone number. See what happens. You'll learn your lesson.
It kills me too, Adam, because I would just be happy to have 2 parents in the household.
Yeah,
I'm not asking for much. I don't care about the soft parenting, the hard parenting. Maybe just 2 parents.
Well, and first off, this sheds a lot of light on something because many years ago I built a castle out of Legos with my son, and then I came home from work and it was smashed to pieces, and he said a crazy man just came in and kicked it and then left and yelled tough love. And I never believed him, but Sonny, I owe you an apology because I thought that was all farce.
Santa.
Yeah. Well, listen, okay, so the self-esteem movement went way over the rails and caused a lot of problems. And basically the way I describe life is like we need gravity in our life. Like you need to build up some calluses on your feet. You can walk barefoot because you have some.
Hello and a very good morning to you. This is Sky News at 4 a.m. These are your latest headlines. The US Department of Justice reveals emails between paedophile Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, as well as correspondence with Sarah Ferguson and Lord Mandelson, as more than 3 million more files are released. The Prime Minister defends his trip to China after President Trump warns that having closer ties with Beijing is very dangerous. The Prime Minister tells us the Chinese deals are in the UK's national interest.
What I don't think...
He's our biggest trading partner.
What I don't think is wise is for the United Kingdom to stick its head in the sand.
Also this morning, Donald Trump warns time is running out for Iran to negotiate deals with nuclear allies America's weapons and ask if a new conflict can be avoided. Plus, we reveal how a toxin which causes vomiting and diarrhea is found in batches of baby formula produced by Nestle. And the Queen joins a host of celebrities to celebrate the life of the author, Dame Jilly Cooper. Hello and a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. The US Department of Justice has released millions more Epstein files, including an email where Jeffrey Epstein invited the former Prince Andrew to meet a young Russian woman. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has previously vigorously denied accusations against him. Our US correspondent James Matthews has been looking through the documents and spoke to my colleague Gillian Joseph a little earlier.
With more than 3 million pages, 2,000 plus videos, and in terms of the number of images, more than 180,000. This was publication day by the Department of Justice. Belatedly, of course, they all should have been out 6 weeks ago by law, but there's a lot in there. We have lifted some of the detail, and there are some familiar faces in there. Prince Andrew, or the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, gets a mention, so does Lord Peter Mandelson. Let me read you, Gillian, a few email exchanges, first of all between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein. Interesting for a number of reasons, one of which is the ease of access that Jeffrey Epstein appeared to have to Buckingham Palace. Let's go through just some of the emails. On the 11th of August in 2010, Epstein sent an email to
Today, millions more documents related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein released in the US. Democrats call for the full release of files.
A document that mentions the word Trump in release. Yes or no?
Tributes flow for award-winning comedian Catherine O'Hara, who's died at her home in Los Angeles, aged 71. Homicide detectives returned to the scene of a suspected murder-suicide in Perth. And Aussie pair Jason Kubler and Mark Polmans take to centre court for the Australian Open men's doubles final. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. The US Department of Justice has released more documents relating to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. 3 million pages, 180,000 images and 2,000 videos were released 6 weeks after the department's mandated deadline for all files to be made public. Information identifying victims or anything which could jeopardise an active investigation has been redacted.
My team has certain communications with the White House. Let me just be clear, they had nothing to do with this review. They had no oversight over this review. They did not tell this department how to do our review, what to look for, what to redact, what to not redact.
Meanwhile, Democrats have criticised the limited release, claiming it only contains half of the documents collected by a House committee.
The DOJ numbers keep changing. They say they collected 6 million pages, but they're only releasing 3. What happened to the other 3 million? What's in them? And finally, has every document that mentions the word Trump been released? Yes or no?
Washington.
visit. He has previously denied.
Africa News. The news.
Nigeria's military leader has accused the presidents of France, Benin, and Ivory Coast of supporting armed groups that attacked an Air Force base in the capital early Thursday, wounding soldiers and dying an aircraft. Nigerian forces responded quickly, killing 20. They should now in turn have to hear us all.
Supporting the country's political stability, security institutions, rule of law, and human rights.
The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as the resolution 2814 of 2026.
The Council revised the mission's mandate to focus on 6 key tasks, including promoting human rights and reducing gang warfare. It also denounced the sharp rise in violence in Haiti, where armed groups control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince.
Notre objectif est clair, protéger la population.
Our objective is clear: to protect the population, reduce violence, restore the rule of law, and create the conditions for lasting institutional stability, thanks to an inclusive dialogue that includes Haitians in the country and the Haitians in the diaspora. Here, the Council that replace a smaller, understaffed, and underfunded UN-backed mission led by Kenyan police. This camp near Syria's border with Iraq houses more than 2,000 people who've been held here for almost a decade. Many of the women are either the wives or widows of Islamic State fighters who were defeated in 2019, ending a self-declared caliphate in large parts of Iraq and Syria. Foreign women living in Rouge Camp are hoping for an amnesty after a government offensive weakened the Kurdish-led force that guards it. The government of Belgium came here twice and took away 2 groups of women, but the government only takes women with children because of children's rights. Women alone like me must escape from the camp. That's what the foreign minister told my family. They said, if your daughter wants to come back home, then tell her to escape from the camp to Turkey, and we'll take her from there.
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Ronnie Samtani. At this hour, President Donald Trump picks Fed veteran Kevin Warsh as the next chair of the U.S. Central Bank. Amid concerns about his independence, the leader says he's perfect for the job.
This was the man that's most qualified. Top student, best schools, everything was like perfect.
Tehran says it will never negotiate its defense capabilities as Washington tightens the noose with fresh sanctions. Mideast countries call for de-escalation amid anticipation the U.S. could strike Iran soon. And Danish firm Maersk will temporarily run the Panama Canal ports after a court ousted Hong Kong operator C.K. Hutchison from the key shipping route. The Hong Kong government has rejected the ruling. U.S. President Donald Trump has named Kevin Warsh as his pick to succeed Jerome Powell as the chair of the Federal Reserve. The move has ended months of speculation over who will next lead the central bank as the U.S. leader pushes for bigger rate cuts. Tony Waterman reporting for CNA has more from Washington, D.C.
Kevin Warsh certainly has the credentials to be Fed chair. He's a graduate of Harvard and Stanford. He's a former bank executive, and he's a Fed alum. He served as a governor from 2006 to 2011, so right in the thick of the global financial crisis. And at the
France 24 WhatsApp group.
Thanks for staying with us on Night Watch here on France 24. Our main stories for you this hour. US partners in the Middle East call for both and military presence in the Gulf. Turkey's foreign minister, his Iranian counterpart, he said it's crucial for the two sides to resume talks to avoid another regional conflict. It says Donald Trump warned Tehran was US Justice Department releases another trove of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein with more than 3 million pages and thousands of videos. Many documents were heavily redacted, with some pages entirely blacked out. Survivors of Epstein's crimes condemns the move, saying the DOJ was protecting their abusers. And a pause in hostilities between Russia and Ukraine comes into effect, with both sides agreeing to a US plan to hold strikes on energy infrastructure on either side. The differences have already emerged over the time frame. It should last week, but the Kremlin says it agreed to a pause only until Sunday. American allies and partners in the Middle East have urged restraint by both you.
on DW.
This is DW News, live from Berlin. In the US, students, teachers, and workers join a national day of protest. Shooting to protesters in many Republican-dominated Texas and the Democratic stronghold of California. Thousands demand an end to the immigration crackdown. Plus, Russia and Ukraine say they've temporarily halted strikes on each other's energy infrastructure amid a bitterly cold winter. The request came from US President Donald Trump, but there's confusion over the time frame. I'm Ben Fisman. Demonstrators across the United States have been marching over an aggressive federal campaign against immigrants. They've run several cities, including Minneapolis, where federal agents recently killed 2 protesters. The White House says it's rethinking federal enforcement efforts, but that's done little to alleviate anger.
They marched in the south, in San Antonio, Texas. Hundreds rallied to demand an end to the aggressive federal campaign against immigrants. Their message: stand up, fight back. They marched in the west. In Los Angeles, which has been heavily targeted by ICE, protesters gathered at City Hall. And they marched in the east. Downtown New York was the scene of another demonstration. At a high school in the southeastern state of Georgia, students walked out, chanting against ICE as they did so. Their message was simple.
And we really, really hope that this can impact the people that are getting murdered and abused and kidnapped. I think that it's really important when you're not affected by something to still stand up for what you know is right. And we all came together to decide that we weren't going to sit here and let everything that's happening just happen and pass us by.
Back up north in Minnesota, huge crowds swelled the streets of
David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast, streaming same day with all breaking news on us. Watched.
Air to the major anti-ICE protests unfolding across the country at this hour. Former CNN host Don Lemon arrested for just moments, and Catherine O'Hara has died. We've learned tonight. First coming in.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.